This video is not going to be a makeup tutorial, obviously. My makeup is already done. I am going to take my glasses off because I think that's kind of annoying that it glares. But there were a few people that wanted me to invite them. So let me just invite them really quick. And then I'm going to just jump in and get started because otherwise I'm going to turn this off and be chicken because this is scary. Yes, I forgot who I was inviting because I'm so scared. I'm like sweating. You can't tell, but I'm sweating. Whew. I'm having a brain fart, an actual brain fart. Literally, I don't remember my own name right now. Okay, anyway, if I didn't invite you, please don't be offended. I just forgot who I said I was going to invite. Anyway, sorry for Skylar bouncing in the background. This is a story. Thanks. I'm actually going to swipe the screen so I won't be seeing anyone's comments because otherwise, I will get distracted and won't be able to tell this story and it'll take too long and no one will care or share it, and that is not what I want. I want this story to be shared because I think it's time. So 8 years ago, I was 18. It was my first time moving out of my parents' house, and I lived in a house with a bunch of friends. And one night, one of my friends who I did not live with, but he was just a mutual friend of all of ours, decided that he was going to help himself and got in my bed and started trying to do things while I was asleep. And I kicked him to get him off of me and ran upstairs and went and hid in my roommate's bedroom for hours. And I called one of my friends at the time and I was just bawling and I didn't know what to do, and I was like, do I report it? Like, he was one of my friends. Like, do I report this? Do I just let it go? What do I do? Thanks, dude. Thanks for being my cheerleader. This friend had done similar things to other women previous to me. And something my friend told me was, you need to be the last person that this happens to. And I was like, okay, like, I will buck up and call the authorities because this is the final straw. Like, I don't want anyone else to ever have to go through this, and I'll be the last one. So it took me hours to work up the nerve to even make the phone call, because if you've never been put in that situation, it is the most horrible, gut-wrenching situation you could ever be in, and you are scared out of your mind. Who you are and your identity was taken from you in an instant, and everything that you thought you knew about yourself was stripped from you, and you're afraid. You are terrified. And so it took me hours to work up the courage. I finally worked up the courage and called the authorities, and I begged and I pleaded. I said, please don't come to my home. Like, whatever you do, like, don't come here. He's still here. I will meet you anywhere. Like, please don't come to my house. That's how terrified I was. That's how hurt and afraid I was, is that I didn't even want the cops to come. But they didn't listen, obviously, and they came to my home. And from that point forward, things spiraled out of control and got immeasurably worse, which is horrible. Like, you should be able to call the cops, especially in a situation where you are frightened out of your mind. You should be able to call the cops and they have your back. And that was not the case for me. I was basically told by the cops that because he didn't, like, without going into details, because he didn't actually have sex with me, there was no DNA and there was nothing that they could do. And then they tapped my phone line without my permission. They were reading all of my text messages, trying to corner me for lying. I had an officer tell me that he couldn't believe that I would do something like this to cover up cheating on my boyfriend. What? And then he prompted to then follow that statement up with, if you were my daughter, I would disown you. And to be honest, I think those words, I mean, obviously, because I still remember them 8 years later, those words took away my voice and told me that I was completely invalid. They told me that my thoughts and my feelings and my hurt wasn't valid. It said that what I was going through was punishment. And I believed it. I believed it for years and years and years. And thankfully, I had really good friends who, during that time, bucked up, like, went above and beyond to protect me in situations. And basically, if this guy showed up, they would push him out the door and not allow him in to any of my friends' homes. And I am beyond thankful for that. I had friends offer me their homes to stay in, because I was so afraid to go home, and I didn't want to sleep in the same place that it had happened. And it has taken me years and years to even be able to be empowered enough to come out and talk about it and talk about how wrong that person was for taking that away from me, for taking away my voice. And in light of all of the stuff with the gymnasts, I empathize with them so much, because I promise you, at least one of them spoke up and said something to someone. And I guarantee that they were told, no, you're making it up, you're exaggerating, you are this, that, or the other, and basically made them feel completely invalidated and made them feel like they weren't worth an investigation. They weren't worth figuring it out. They weren't worth the protection. And I just have to say that if anyone ever comes to you and says that something like this has happened to them, I want you to understand that they are telling you their deepest and darkest secret. And they are coming to you with something that they have probably struggled to come to you with for a long time. However, I will also say that if you are someone who has falsely accused someone of rape, I don't really have any words for you. You are the reason that women who do suffer this and do have to endure and do have to be brave enough to get through it, lose their voice. So you are just as responsible at taking away my voice as the people who actually did take away my voice. Because you're the reason why it was even a possibility that I was lying when I wasn't. I don't really have a whole lot else to say. I wanted to try and keep this really nice and short. If you tuned in, thank you so much. If you could share this and get this out to as many people as humanly possible, I would love you forever, because it's time that we take our voice back. As survivors, as fighters, as people who have just lived through something like this, we can take our voice back, and it's time. Little man is upset, so I'm gonna sign off. I will read your guys' comments and comment back. Thank you so much for tuning in.